Well, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. Wherever you are today, I hope that you are doing well. It is Thursday, and we're walking one day at a time with the Lord, a daily walk where you never have to walk alone. Are you being encouraged by these devotions? Are you being blessed? I hope that you are. Would you do us a favor? I usually mention this on Thursdays. Would you comment? Would you send us a message and let us know how the Lord is ministering to you through these? It really, we're not doing it just because we want somebody to pat us on the back. We just want to know that we're actually making a connection. It's making a difference in somebody's life. And that helps us here as a team to continue to move forward and to put these out Monday through Friday. And I also want to encourage you with this. How about this? Today, can you, or would you, if you have the time, send the link of this devotional or one of the devotionals, the Daily Walk, to 3 people? Could you do that? Could you send it to them and say, hey, I want to send something to you? Maybe they'll say, don't ever send me that again. Or maybe they like it and they want to subscribe. We'll see what happens. Thank you for that. Well, let's open today to 1 Corinthians, and we are now in the 10th chapter. Folks, we are making our way through the 10th chapter. And it says, beginning in verse 1, Paul writes, moreover, brethren, I don't want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud. All passed through the sea. All were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And all ate the same spiritual food and all drank the same spiritual drink. They drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. Paul now does a little bit of a history lesson. He takes his readers back to, something that they no doubt had heard about, the person of Moses. The nation of Israel ended up starting out as just a few people. Of course, Jacob had his 12 sons, and those 12 sons would then become the 12 tribes of Israel. They made their way down to the land of Goshen, right next to Egypt, where Joseph, one of Jacob's sons, was able to provide for them. If you don't know the story about Joseph, go back and read the book of Genesis. It's a powerful story. But when you come to the book of Exodus, you find that those descendants had grown into an innumerable number, and the Pharaoh who was in charge began to oppress the nation of Israel and made them slaves. 400 years they were oppressed, and they cried out to God for a deliverer. And the Lord raised up a deliverer. His name was Moses. Now, he didn't start out as a deliverer, actually started out as a little baby. And Pharaoh had ordered that all of the male children should be put to death. He didn't want the nation of Israel to continue to grow. And so he ordered that all the children should be put to death. All the male children should be drowned in the Nile. Well, Moses' mother, Jochebed, she hid Moses for as long as she could. He was a beautiful child, the Bible tells us. But then she made a basket of reeds, and she placed Moses in this basket, put him in the Nile, and there he floated down the river, and he ended up in the presence of Pharaoh's daughter, who took Moses and raised him as her own son there in the courts of Pharaoh. But as Moses was being raised in the courts of Pharaoh, he observed the Hebrews, his actual people, being treated poorly, being beaten and whipped and living as slaves. And at one point, Moses sought to take matters into his own hands, and he tried to deliver his people. Well, he failed. He ended up murdering an Egyptian taskmaster and then fleeing for his life. And for the next 40 years, he was on the backside of the desert, leading sheep from one location to another for his father-in-law there in the regions of Midian. But after 40 years, the Lord appeared to him there on Mount Sinai, spoke to him out of a burning bush, called him to go and be a deliverer for the nation of Israel. Moses, although reluctant, responded to the call and went to Egypt, and there he confronted the Pharaoh. And you know the story, what happened. After 10 consecutive plagues, each plague correlating with the destruction of one of the Egyptian gods, the nation of Israel made their exodus out of Egypt. And as they traveled, the Lord led them to the Red Sea. And actually, they were hemmed in They couldn't go anywhere. The sea was at their back, mountain ranges on either side, and Pharaoh realized this was his opportunity to get his slaves back. And so he pursued them to the Red Sea. And it was there that Moses cried out to the Lord. And the Lord put a distance between the Egyptians and the Israelites, and he protected them. And then Moses was called by the Lord to raise up his staff, and the Red Sea parted, and the people walked across on dry ground. And once they got to the other side, the Egyptians pursued them, and they were swallowed up and drowned in the Red Sea. Paul looks back at that instance, and he says, I don't want you to be unaware that all of our fathers were under the cloud. What cloud? Remember, the Lord was a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night? Kept them shaded in the midst of the wilderness during the day, the desert, and then protected them at night, being a fire around them. They all passed under this cloud. And he said they were all baptized into Moses. By baptism, meaning they were identified with Moses. That is the purpose of baptism, to identify with. The former generation identified with Moses, baptized into him, came across the Red Sea with him. And while they were out in the wilderness, having crossed the Red Sea, the Lord provided for the people for the next 40 years, manna from heaven. When they were thirsty, he gave them water from a rock. They all ate of that manna that came down from the sky. And the Bible also says they all drank, listen to this, that spiritual drink from a rock that it says followed them. And Paul says that rock that followed them, it was Christ. That's very interesting. When the people were thirsty, they cried out to Moses. They complained quite a bit. They didn't like the food. They didn't like the desert. They thought Moses brought them out there to kill them. They wanted to go back to Egypt. They got thirsty. So the Lord told Moses, I want you to take that stick, that rod in your hand. I want you to go over to that rock, and I want you to smite it. And when you do, water's going to come forth. And so Moses went over and he struck the rock, and water came forth, and they were provided for. Later on, the people complained again. Man, it would have been tough to be Moses. They complained again. This time Moses went over to the rock and he was supposed to speak to it, but he spoke to the people and he rebuked them. He said, you rebels, do I need to get water for you again? And he struck the rock and struck the rock. The Lord still provided water, but as a result of Moses misrepresenting the Lord, he wasn't allowed to go into the promised land. And he also ruined the type. If that rock that was smitten once, struck once, brought forth water, and it represented Christ, you don't strike him again. He ruined the type. Folks, listen, Jesus is our rock, the rock which the church is built upon. He was smitten, he was struck. And what was provided for us? Oh, living water came forth from this rock. So Paul looks back at this Old Testament passage and he points it to the person and the work of Jesus. Folks, did you know that this book is written about Jesus and that when you study it, it points to him? In the volume of the book, it's written concerning Jesus. Can I encourage you today, this Thursday, when you read through your Bible, when you spend time devotionally, look for Jesus. He's there from Genesis to Revelation. You'll be encouraged. It's about him. We say that this book is history, but really, it's his story. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you on Friday.